Well, shalom. My name is Todd Bennett, and this is the audio version of the weekly Shema Yisrael newsletter titled Becoming Something New. Well, this was originally published on day 2 of month 8 on the Creator's calendar, otherwise known as October 25th, 2025 on the Roman calendar. Last week we talked about all things new. That was the title of the message, and the fact that the future holds a promise of the fires of judgment for this present existence. We saw scriptures that referred to creation actually melting and dissolving. It's like a house fire. When a house goes up in flames, not much remains and everything melts. It's not just about the structure, but also the contents. Gold and silver will lose their shape and be refined by the fire if it's hot enough, but paper dollar bills and family photos, clothing, furniture, and of course the house itself all go up in flames. You know, I have a vivid memory of a catastrophic fire that occurred in the town where I grew up. I was only about 4 years old when a fire devastated much of the downtown where I lived and destroyed most of the retail shops. And my parents took me to walk through the devastated streets after the fires were extinguished by the fire hoses to view the destruction. And I recall seeing the melted blobs of red, yellow, and blue plastic that used to be the big wheels that I coveted in the local toy store. And it sure is funny the things we remember. I also recollect the piles of rubble that used to be the stores that we shopped in. For better or for worse, everything was later bulldozed and an urban renewal project completely transformed the village. A large grocery store and a small shopping mall replaced the numerous and varied local retail shops and small businesses that once filled a bustling main street. Well, one thing is certain, life is not static. It's constantly changing, and it seems like change is accelerating at a dizzying pace these days. As much as we may long for the days of old, we can't get them back, and the past is behind us and only memories remain. I know that some folks have a hard time with that reality. They want to cling to the past, and some just can't let go. One of the lessons of our rehearsals is to embrace the change and look forward to the future that Yahweh has in store for his people. Well, we may not like the future that Babylon has planned for humanity. That's not our future. And while the beast system wants to enslave and control us, we're rehearsing for something more than we can presently observe or even imagine. It's all about the future and not so much about the past. Well, we are commanded to remember it so that we can learn and are prepared for the future that awaits us. And that's why the cycle of the appointed times is always moving forward through time, leading us to a future that transcends this physical existence. And that's why Yeshua encourages us to lay up treasures in heaven. Our focus should be on what lies ahead in the kingdom. We all have limited time and energy, and we need to spend them on things that stand the test of time, or should I say the test of eternity. Everlasting life is the goal, and the covenant renewed and made new through Yeshua is the way to eternal life. Now, we rehearse it all every year, and the 8th day represents both the end and the beginning. And that's why the appointed time of the 8th day falls on day 22 of month 7. Remember that the Taw is the last character of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the 22nd character. The end. So this final appointed time, which occurs at the end of the year, after the Feast of Ingathering, marks the end of the covenant journey, but points to new beginnings. The ancient Taw represents the covenant. It's a mark, and it's possibly the sign of blood that the Hebrews would paint on their doorposts at the Passover with hyssop. At least that's what I would do. Well, it's a yearly reminder of the door to the eternal, and that's why John called Yeshua the Lamb of Elohim. And Yeshua referred to himself as the door. He also said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Well, how can that be? I remember a friend of mine described an interaction that he had with a Jewish man in Israel who, when referring to Yeshua, asked, "How can one man be so important?" That's what those in Orthodox Judaism often struggle with, at least those who are seeking the truth. They've been ingrained with the notion of strict monotheism since the rabbis formed the religion of Judaism in opposition to Yeshua. My friend's simple response was, how then could Moses have been so important? The patterns are all there for us to learn from. Moses was a man, but he was like a god to Pharaoh and the Egyptians, as well as the children of Israel. He was a pattern for Emmanuel, Elohim with us, for the Messiah. And the Torah explicitly stated that there would come one like Moses, and that the children of Israel needed to listen to him. Deuteronomy 18:18-19 says, "I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them at all that I command him. And it shall be that whoever will not hear my words, which he speaks in my name, I will require it of him." And of course, we know that Yeshua came in his Father's name and represented his Father and spoke the Father's words. Well, that's why the priests and Levites specifically asked John if he was the Messiah, Elijah, or the prophet, because they were thinking about that passage. In John 1:19-22, we read, "Now this is the testimony of John when the Yahudim sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, 'Who are you?' He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, 'I am not the Messiah.' And they asked him, 'What then? Are you Elijah?' He said, 'I am not.' 'Are you the prophet?' And he answered, 'No.' Then they said to him, 'Who are you, that we may give an answer to those who sent us? What do you say about yourself?'" Well, they were fully expecting one like Moses, although they didn't know if he would come as the Messiah, Elijah, or the prophet. They clearly understood the concept of the two powers in heaven, the pattern of the Father and the Son. And that's evidenced through the following proverb in 34. It says, "Who has ascended to heaven and come down? Who has gathered the wind in his fists? Who has wrapped up the waters in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name? Surely you know." Well, the text is obviously speaking about the creator of the universe and the fact that the creator has a son. And we have repeatedly reviewed the fact that Yeshua, the unique and only begotten Son of Yahuwah, was present at creation and intimately involved in the creation process. We see that through the Aleph Tah that occurs twice in the first 7 words of the Torah. He was not just a man, he was Elohim, and this creation is all about him. And while Orthodox Jews and even Muslims look at this as an idolatry, the Israelites did not. Again, this was a well-understood concept in Israel during the time of Yeshua. They were intimately aware of the word at the beginning, sometimes referred to as the Memra. They understood the unique and special appearances of this messenger of Yahuwah throughout history. They did not have the full revelation until Yeshua actually came in the flesh. So, when we rehearse the appointed times, we're rehearsing with purpose and understanding. Those of us who understand and recognize Yeshua as the Messiah, we're anticipating a wedding, a relationship, and a new future home with Yeshua. Well, we're clearly still here. We're not there yet. But we know that we want to pass through the fire, and we need Yeshua to help us, just like he did with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and we read about that in Daniel 3. Well, I want to talk a little more about the significance of the 8th day and the fact that the cycle of the appointed times culminates with the focus on the number 8. There's a lot of information that can be gleaned from considering the patterns of 8. Remember how we previously mentioned that both the 7th and the 8th words in the Torah are haaretz, the earth or the land. And when considering the numerical placement of these words, it would appear that there's a creation followed by a recreation, a renewal of creation. Of course, Isaiah specifically stated that would come In Isaiah 65:17, it says, "For behold, I create new heavens and new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind." We also saw that in the text of Revelation at 21:1. "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more." So we're expecting something new after the pattern of sevens that we saw in Sukkot, after the Sukkot rehearsal is fulfilled. Of course, when thinking of the number 8, we can't forget the intimate sign of the covenant, circumcision. That visible sign consists of the shedding of blood and the removal of flesh from the male organ on the 8th day of life. Now, the symbolism is profound when we consider that the mark is on the source of the seed of new life. Now, while Yahuwah is the creator of all life, he allows the man and the woman to participate in the process of perpetuating and expanding his creation. And this is an important lesson. He allows his created beings to participate in the further population of creation. So again, the emphasis on 8 is supposed to make us think about new life. Now, we're mandated with the mission of directing people to the high priest and king so that they can have eternal life in the kingdom. And we do this by pointing people to the appointed times of the covenant and the one who is the focus of the appointed times, and the one who is scheduling those appointments, and the one who we're supposed to meet with at those appointments. And if you look at Leviticus 23, there are actually 8 appointments set forth in the text. There's the weekly Shabbat that is determined by a repeating pattern of sevens, and that's separated from the 7 that follow, the 7 distinct annual appointed times. And those are determined not by just a day count, but by the sun and the moon. And in Genesis 1:14, it talks about, the sun and the moon, the 2 great lights, being for a lot of English translations say seasons, but it's actually moedim, which means appointed times. So we're told right from the beginning that the 2 great lights are for the appointed times. So we've got the weekly Shabbat, and we have the 7 annual appointed times: Passover, unleavened bread, Shavuot, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and the 8th day. Now, it's important to recognize that even though the appointed times were completed on the 8th day celebration of month 7, a new cycle did not immediately begin. Again, the cycles begin at month 1. Instead of kicking right into a new cycle, we went through 8 days, which then led to day 1 of month 8. You can see that on the calendar there. I don't have a pointer here, but you can see that Shema Yisrael at day 22, and if you count, that leads to the end of the month, and then we go to day 1 of month 8. So the emphasis on 8 continues even after the conclusion of the 8th day. And now, this isn't numerology. It's simply recognizing the patterns in the appointments. They're there for us to learn important lessons. They are a guide to the eternal. And the important thing to remember is that your participation in these appointed times, it's not a ticket to heaven. The appointed times are not an 8-step path to eternal security. They're not sacraments that provide us with salvation just by showing up. That's how some people view church attendance or certain formulas provided through Christianity. Here's the rub. If you're not learning the lessons of these appointments, then they're of no benefit. It's not just about eating lamb or bread without yeast, counting the 50, blowing a shofar, fasting, or building a sukkah. Those are just activities that are meant to teach us. You can have perfect attendance at school, but if you're not listening to the instructions and learning the lessons, you're going to fail. Now, the appointed times are simply waypoints on the covenant journey that we all must walk. They're meant to keep us on the path and lead us to a final destination. But we must be looking for the signals and following the signs. Now, a couple days ago, we sighted a beautiful renewed moon in the heavens, signaling the beginning of month 8. It wasn't visible for very long and could have easily been missed in the tree line where I was. We had to be ready at the right time, watching for the sign. And that's the lesson of the exercise. So, Now we find ourselves in month 8, and we need to maintain our focus on new beginnings on our covenant journey while we're still here. And this is an entire month to consider the past and the future. During this time, we should all ponder, what did we learn from the previous cycle of the appointed times? Are we new or different? Were we changed through the process? Are we ready for the future that lies ahead? Is there something we need to adjust or do differently before the next cycle kicks in? If so, we should attend to it well before we find month 1 approaching. Maybe make some notes and mark your calendar now. We're given a gift of time, and the question is, what do we do with this gift? When we understand that the purpose of the appointed times and time itself is to prepare us for a new life, it brings on fresh meaning. Instead of just attending an event to be entertained, we participate in a meeting with our Creator to build and strengthen our relationship. If you were living in a land at a time when Yahuwah dwelled there, these lessons would be very apparent. The lessons were tangible. You worked hard on your land, your property that was allotted to you, and you physically carried the best of your fruits to present to the Master at his house. How amazing that must have been. When you actually brought physical fruits to the temple, your performance would be out in the open for all to see. Yet, not really, because looks can be deceiving. It wasn't how much you brought. Everyone's gift was relative to their ability to give. It was the quality of the gift measured by the heart, and only Elohim can truly see a person's heart. Remember the widow and her mites? In Luke 21, we read, and he looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts in the treasury, and he was Yeshua. And he saw also a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. So he said, truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all. For all these out of their abundance have put in offerings for Elohim. But she out of her poverty put in all the livelihood that she had. Then as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and donations, he said, these things which you see, the days will come in which not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. Well, I'm thankful that I serve an Elohim who looks at the heart. He's not interested in beautiful buildings built by men. Sadly, we live in a society that favors the rich and places them on a pedestal. They essentially become the idols and the gods or the mighty ones in a culture obsessed with wealth and prosperity. America has a president perfectly suited to reflect the condition of the decaying society that we live in. His expensive suits and spray-tanned face and his hair-sprayed hair and even his new golden White House ballroom belie the fact that America is a nation on the brink of collapse. It's all superficial fluff, and when you get past all the exterior, you see it's rotten on the inside. Any student of history or the scriptures can see the signs. His love for gold and his desire for praise and adoration harkens back to Babylon and the golden head of the great image. He's a pawn of whoever contributes the most to his campaigns, and he's elevating people who are simply using their positions and influence to enrich themselves and promote their objectives. He's using his current position to enrich his friends and family while bankrupting the country and turning it into one big surveillance state. Like I said before, walls can work both ways. They can keep people out or also keep them in. Just ask the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Also, immigration police can easily be given a different mission and mandate. Once they've rounded up all the illegal aliens, they may just start going after other enemies of the state. What we see occurring today might just be a warm-up for a future lockdown or emergency martial law scenario. Of course, all of this has been going on for decades, but President Trump seems to be the ideal choice as we see the crescendo of the American empire. The national debt of the United States of America just surpassed $38 trillion. It's simply mind-boggling, and this is happening while the federal government is technically shut down. Of course, this should be a huge warning that America is a nation that is under a curse. That is the sign of a curse, as the scriptures clearly point out. It's a grand mess, and getting worse by the day, and the rich just keep getting richer, not because they're so much smarter than the rest of us, but because they know how to play the system. And did you know that President Trump's special Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, is also his business partner? And while Mr. Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner are off implementing peace plans, they are also making lucrative business deals. I've cautioned people for over a decade to watch Jared Kushner, who owns headquarters at 666 East Avenue in Manhattan. He's intimately involved in Chabad Judaism and is a lifelong friend of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's very close with Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman and presents as a man of peace, but it's all an illusion. He and Witkoff have admittedly been working on the master plan, as Steve Witkoff just stated, and I believe them. The only thing is that their master plan is far different from the master's plan. Kushner recently started a new AI company called Brain Company that will most likely be operating out of Gaza, or should I say Trump Gaza. Well, it's all one big happy family working together to establish the beast system that will enrich and empower the elite while reducing the rest of humanity to poverty and enslavement. And that's why I get particularly disturbed by Christian Zionists who should know better, especially when they claim to have a relationship with Yeshua and have hopefully read the scriptures. Well, as I observe the billionaire technocrats and oligarchs trying to rule the world these days, it sure is comforting to know that Yahuwah is not a respecter of men. These men can build their empires, buy their politicians, and implement their plans, but it's all going to melt in the end. The digits in their bank accounts are going to vanish, and they will stand naked before the king to answer for their deeds. At that point, it won't be a matter of their material wealth, their perceived power, or their bank accounts, only what is contained in their heart account. The condition of your heart determines your ability to communicate with the Master and ultimately whether you get to dwell with him. Isaiah 66:2 says, "But this is the one whom I will look, he who is humble and contrite in spirit and trembles at my word." In order to dwell in the high place, we must first get low. Isaiah 57:15 says, "For thus says the one who is high and lifted up, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, and also with him who is of a contrite and lowly spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite." Well, we want to be heard by Elohim, and ultimately we want to dwell with him, and that is the point of our rehearsals, and it's no mystery what Yahweh is looking for in his servants. And that's why he sent his son to be a servant and show us how to rehearse, prepare, and live. In order to inherit eternal life, we need to be revived from the slumber of Sheol. We must be part of the resurrection by following the firstborn son who was resurrected. Do you notice who gets revived by Elohim? Again, it's all about our hearts. While there is still a past to remember, it's helpful to reflect on our previous rehearsal and evaluate our meeting with the Master at his appointed times. It's strange how people will go to doctor appointments for their various ailments, but so many neglect the appointments with the Creator, the one who made them, the one who can heal them, and the only one who can save them. And it doesn't cost anything. You don't need insurance. The appointments are like a checkup with the Creator. He is the heart specialist, and he is particularly focused on that organ because that's the one he circumcises. While a man can cut the flesh of a child on the eighth day, only Yahuwah can circumcise the heart. Can you see how important the eighth day is now? So here we are in the month of new beginnings. I know people who are desperate to be raptured and leave this place, and I'm actually thrilled every day that I wake up that I have the gift of more time for the potter to complete his work on this vessel of clay. Isaiah 64:8 says, "But now, O Yahweh, you are our Father, we are the clay, and you our potter, and all we are the work of your hand." While there is still time, ask the potter to make us into something better, something new. The simple fact is that every year of our rehearsals that pass, we're getting older and closer to our expiration dates. I started off this message giving the Roman date of October 25th, and that date jumps out to me because it's my pagan birth date, so to speak. It's incredible how these Roman dates cling to us throughout our lives. It's actually a reminder of how Babylon wants to mark us, tag us, fingerprint us, and even footprint us at birth. Babylon wants to own us and doesn't want to let go. It creates a false reality for our lives and wants to keep us living in an illusory world, separate and apart from the Creator and our destiny in the kingdom. Well, I want to thank everybody who sent me kind words and expressions throughout the day. I appreciate hearing from all of you. I'm also thankful that I have the ability to understand that I was actually born into this earth on a different calendar, on the Creator's calendar. In fact, my true kingdom birth date is day 10 of month 8 on the Creator's calendar. 8 days from the date of this message. Well, Yahuwah surely has a sense of irony and humor at times. Well, having said this, I encourage everyone to stay focused. We're truly blessed to have the time and ability to honor and obey our Creator. The lessons continue, and every day presents an opportunity to become something new. Barakot, my name is Todd Bennett from Shema Yisrael, and I have on here just a message if people feel led to donate. I'm using a new, you can donate on the website if you want to. I also sign up for this Buymeacoffee, which makes it easy for people to give. So if you feel any desire to give, you can do so through the website, shemayisrael.net, or on this, through this app. Also, we've got a really incredible trip coming up, Passover in Egypt. This is going to be really amazing because we're going to actually have a Passover Seder in Egypt, on the appointed time, on day 14 of month 1. We're going to have the Seder in the same area that in the land of Goshen, where Israel was when they had their Passover Seder. And then we're going to leave, and we're going to go to Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia. And we're going to see all the sites along the way that the children of Israel passed. And then we're going to go up into Jordan and see a whole bunch of very, very interesting sites there, and eventually end up at the Jordan River and immerse. So this is going to be a really incredible 3 countries on this tour. It'll be really incredible. We'd love it if you could join us. And if you're interested in finding out more, of course, I've written a little bit here, and you can also follow this QR code or go to the Living Passages website to find more information. Now, if you're hearing this on YouTube and you don't get the written newsletter, you can certainly go. It's free, and you can go to the website and sign up. All you got to do is just give your email address, and it'll get sent out to you every week with everybody else. And here's a QR code for you to sign up if you want to. And also, the foundation of my teachings really is set forth in a 12-volume Walk on the Lake series. So if you're new to this site, if you're new to this information and you want to find out more, here's a link to the website. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you have a wonderful week. And remember to join us next week. Sign up, and we'll be communicating the next Shabbat, Yah willing.